Hey guys, how's everybody doing today? I'm coming to you on a Saturday. Figure I'll bring some a little bit of chit chat, see how everybody's mental health is doing. So, haven't been talking about like a full mental health topic recently. I mean, I talk about things more personal. The last topic I talked about was womanhood and the struggles of women. So, as my channel progresses, I will be going deeper and deeper and deeper into what are the solutions, because we could talk about the problems all day, but are there solutions? So, today I just want to talk about things holistically when it comes to mental health and just let y'all know a little bit about like my plans moving forward, maybe sometime next year, how we will all like start to bridge that gap in mental health, like the solutions. But before I start, you guys know I'm a fashionista. So I got these shoes a couple months ago, and my daughter hates them. It's an old fashioned. I like a little bit of the classic mixed with the modern, right? So I want y'all to tell me if y'all like it. I like it. Um, at some point, I'll probably find a nice like chic look to it, maybe like a pantsuit. I wouldn't wear a skirt with this. So these are the shoes that I had got. I know they look a little manly, but I would make it the way I put things together. You'd be like, okay, girl, I see where you're going with that. Anyways, I thought they were super cute. My daughter was like, what are those? And then she likes these ones. These are considered Mary Jane's. These are like the old fashioned. You can wear anything with this: jeans, skirt, suit. You know. So that kind of makes my day when I have cute things to look at, right? But that's enough of that. So I haven't left yet. I said I was going to be going back trucking, but there was a situation that I had to handle with my family. So it's delaying everything. And at this point, I'm still not sure if I even want to go back on the truck because I'm kind of enjoying life off the truck. This is my first time actually like really sitting still and letting God work through me. Um, weighing the pros and cons of how I want my life to look in the next 5 years. So I would say by next week, I'm gonna make my final decision if I'm just gonna stick it out in New York with my daughter or get back on the road. So it's starting to make me feel like I need to stay. The longer I stay, the more I feel like I need to stay, and just go back into what I was doing before: mental health case manager, until I can finish my degree, which will be next year. Um, Pursuing a master's degree, I always knew it was hard, but I didn't know it was going to be this chronically taxing on my life, on my schedule. Like last night, I stayed up till about, because you have to read so much stuff that by the time you look up and you see the time, you're like, I need to be in bed. So it's called sleep deprivation some nights, trying to finish these papers because every week they want a 5 to 6 page term paper, and this is not just you writing your thoughts. You have to literally have research. I will say though, I've I've starting to grow. I used to hate doing the research, but as I'm starting to get used to how like the process of what you look for, I'm actually starting to like research. I'm actually feeling like research is my thing, if that makes sense, because research opens you up to learning new theories, giving you new ideas and stuff like that, because you start seeing different perspectives when you read from different authors. So I was like, hmm, this might be this might be my calling, to do research to find new ways to handle mental health, because mental health is still kind of new in society. Psychologists have discovered many things, but they're still discovering things about the mind, because the mind is so complex. There's so many different moving parts to how we process things, how a thing can go from a thought to a behavior pattern, because before it gets to the behavior, something motivated that behavior. So they're looking at ways to figure out, well, why do people do things the way they do? So if you have a behavior pattern and then in your mind you're like, I didn't want to act like that. That's not how I am. Why am I doing that? Now you have to understand there's reasons other than just your thoughts that may make you act a certain way, right? So they come to find out past trauma can make you act a certain way that you're not aware of. Family dynamics, meaning like hereditary, like certain personality disorders. It may not be the actual person that makes them act that way. It may be something that they were, like their genes, their gene pool, right? For example, like predatorial behavior. Sometimes you go back into the family history and you find out that that person's parents or grandparents were from incest. Like that movie, uh, Flowers in the Attic. I don't know, everybody haven't probably seen it, but the movie Flowers in the Attic was based on incest, where parents were having children from incest, right? The parents were related and then they had incest children. Then that lineage continued that behavior. And it's in the Bible too. It talks about these behavioral patterns, predatorial behavior, and not just predatorial behavior, sometimes just like bipolar 1 and 2. It could be hereditary. Sometimes, these are things that you can't help. So you're like, well, why am I processing information like that? It could be some type of malfunction in your brain where certain signals are not being reached the way it's supposed to. So now you need to like take medication to either calm those signals down or to boost those signals up. That's why sometimes when people take depression medication, if they're not taking the right fit for that brain, they may become even more depressed and even more like, what's the right word to say on YouTube? Taking themselves out, unaliving themselves. So certain medications may produce more psychosis where they snap. You see what I'm saying? And you're like, well, how did this person, unalive all these people? They were normal 2 days ago, because there may have been some cross signals in the brain when they started taking the wrong type of medication. That's why it's very important not to take other people's medication. It's very important. A mild drug like weed can mess somebody's brain up that may have already mental disorders. That's why I don't do drugs. I do not do drugs because the way my anxiety work, I get freaking paranoid. I cannot smoke trees. I tried when I was younger and I had one bad episode where I almost snapped. So with me knowing that I have a predisposition of mental illness in my family, schizophrenia runs in my family, Alzheimer's runs in my family, dementia runs in my family, PD runs in my family, pedo, right? That runs in my family. Voodoo worshiping runs in my family. Like demonic possession stuff, that runs deep rooted in my family. It's so many spiritual things and mental disorders that run in my family that the last thing I need is a bad drug, right? So I do still take Brispirin. I take it I have the lowest dose, 5 milligrams. And it kind of calms my worrying down. So if you haven't been to a mental health, what you would say, any type of mental health provider, a counselor, a therapist, a psychologist, a psychotherapist, anybody that is tapping into your thoughts, if you're watching this video, it's probably something they may need to consider. No one is above therapy, okay? Nobody. As y'all can see what's going on in the celebrities domain, no one is above therapy, okay? If you meet a guy or you meet a girl and they say they're in therapy, congratulate them. Even if it's something really bad, just say I applaud you, and then find out what it is. But a person that's willing to take the step to figure some shit out deserve an E for effort, a for effort. Okay, it's hard. It's hard trying to understand why things happen the way you do in your life. It's hard trying to figure out why things happen to people that you love. Sometimes people blame God, sometimes people blame other people, and then sometimes we just have to look at ourselves and how we get caught up in certain shit. So I made a video a couple days ago and I was addressing certain things in womanhood that kind of irritates me, and I want to take out my emotions out of this video because the last video my emotions was in it. So I want to kind of talk about it on a more psychological perspective versus my opinion. Does that make sense? Now, I am not licensed therapist yet, but I am studying my psychology degree, right? My master's in psychology. And possibly I may get my doctorate, but I don't know. That's a big commitment. So in the meantime, I may just get certificates. I want to do drug addiction, so substance abuse, and I want to do child and family certificates. Those trainings be like 6 months, about 6 months to 9 months. So that's still another 2 years of studying after I finish this degree next year. So I want to have what's called like a specialty. So right now the crisis is the drug opioid epidemic and children. Children are being abused at a high rate. The family structure is crazy. The family dynamics, it's toxic. And a lot of it is because drugs is the dominant force in a lot of households. It's a dominant force in a lot of households. Drugs and mental illness. But a lot of times, mental illness leads to drug addiction. So it's like we still have to battle those two and treat it as one. I mean, we have to separate the two, of course, physically separating it, making sure that this person that's on drugs is getting the help that they need. But we also have to dig to the core. What is the motivating factor that is making this person succumb to that? And these are all things that, as I'm studying more and more in my field, I'm realizing this is not an easy fix. This is not an easy fix. They've been studying this stuff for centuries. They're realizing that drug addiction is, I don't want to say impossible because nothing is impossible, but it's very, very hard to get a person off of drugs because now it becomes a physiological need. Physiological needs are like your food, your water, your shelter, things that actually keep you surviving, alive. When you get to that point where you're on drugs and it becomes part of your physiological need, it's not even no more recreational drug. This is now a part of your identity, a part of your life. How do you separate the two? It takes a lot of dedication to getting a person to see life is more than just that drug. I come from I forgot to mention, I don't know if I mentioned that substance abuse was a part of my upbringing. So I got to see firsthand what drugs did to my father and what drugs did to my older sister. They're both in the grave, right? So the intent that I come from is very organic, because I know you see a lot of people on social media. They're like, join my network, join my group, and then it's more dysfunction, it's more abuse. They're taking you from one dysfunctional dynamic and putting you in their matrix, right? And we want to stay away from that. We want to stay away from more damage, more mental chaos. For example, there's females online, and no shot at them, because they could probably be generally thinking that this is what they should do. But when it comes to mental health, you don't want to do what's called blame shifting. You don't want to take the blame off of one situation and say, this is the cause. And we need to focus this cause on being anti this or anti that. Because it's not about being anti anything. Because you as a woman or as a man, if you're blame shifting and you're not taking full responsibility for what happens to you, how it happens, what you do with your life, you will always play victim. And you will always say that the other person is the problem. We are victims in some stance, right? But the whole idea is to survive and get out of that mentality and empower yourself. So if you're saying, well, this gender is the reason why I am mentally ill or I'm crazy, right? What that does is it diminishes your worth. It diminishes your intelligence. It diminishes your power. And then if every time you get on a podcast or you get into a social network group and you form these trauma bonds, what's happening is that person that starts the trauma bond with you, they now have the power to pull it away from you or give it back to you. You don't want that. You don't want that person to become your crutch. That makes sense? When you're joining empowerment groups and things like that, the source of the empowerment group should be for you to find yourself, not for them to put stuff into you. So if you find that they're the ones building you, then you're not organically doing the work. If every time you're around that person, you say to yourself, what would that person do in my situation? How can I be just like that person? How can I sound like that person? Then you're not finding your true self. Because your true self is the key to finding out your worth, your happiness, your inner joy. Does that make sense? Your inner peace. You have to do the work internally. How does that look like? It's a process. Nothing happens overnight. Men, the reason why it's harder for men, right? This is partially statistical and this is partially from my opinion and observation, okay? The part that's statistical is that men feel a lot more pressure in society to do what's expected. They've done study groups where they put boys in a group and they put girls in a group, right? Boys tend to conform to the group, to what's expected of them. So boys feel a lot more pressure to conform than girls. Does that make sense? Okay. So now you got to remember, if you're a man watching this, as a man, you're like feeling a lot of how you say, good versus bad, evil, you know what I mean? Like you're always stuck between this, should I do it because it's told of me or should I follow what's organically in me? When you're constantly doing what's told of you, you become a persona of not yourself, but of what you have conformed to be. So let's say you really never fell in love, but all your life your family told you, get a wife, raise a household, yada, 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 or work till your knuckles fall off. But you never did the inner core work to find out who you are. What is your likes? What is your dislikes? What makes you tick? How do you communicate? Am I being heard when someone talks to me? Or me when I talk to someone? Do they truly understand what I mean? So, for example, you're talking to someone and they always take it the wrong way. You're coming off one way, but you really want to be a different way. A lot of times it's because you have become the persona of what was expected of you. And after a while, it comes that point where that true self is still lingering in the background, like, what happened to me? Hi, I'm still here. No one's listening, right? And the true self might be the true self might be an everyday guy. everyday Joe Schmo or everyday next door neighbor guy. For example, my son. I told him, I said, I want you to be a doctor, a lawyer, blah, 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 blah. He said, Ma, I just like music. I just want to be able to make a beat, listen to that beat, feel the beat. I said, you know what? So for like 3-4 years when he was a teenager, I was on his ass. Remember I told you? I was on my kid's father, like, you got to do this, you got to do that. Y'all got to stop doing that to people. Let people be who they want to be. And that's something I had to learn. When you rob people of their true self, they become an empty vessel of themselves. And then they fit the persona of what the world expects of them. So now he never gets to, or you never get to really discover your true dreams and goals and passions and not really worth, but like your calling. And the reason why I say not really worth is because you are worthy. You are worthy, whether you believe it or not. You are worthy. Because if all human beings really understood their true self, they would understand what worth means. Worth means not settling for other people's vision of you. Once you figure that shit out, you will feel empowered. The problem is, okay, so we as a society, ancestrally, we're tribal. It's a protection thing. Throughout all of history, all the statistics show humans come together tribally. It's just in our nature. But you got to remember, there's something called nurture versus nature. Which one is right? It's not about right or wrong. It's about understanding the balance of both and making it work for yourself. So the nurture part comes in when, if you were raised in the forest by a pack of wolves, right? And then you go into society and you're like, oh, people don't eat like that. Oh, people don't do things like that. Now you have to figure out a new way of how to do it. So let's say a family takes you in, they nurture you, they show you the way how to be civilized, and you're like, I like this. I feel loved. I want to be this. This is what I want to be. Then you make that choice and you develop those character traits and you conform to that. That's what nurture versus nature means. It means even though I was born into this situation, if it doesn't fit me and who I am meant, I'm cold now, my ear is on, and who I am meant to be, what is the next step to get to who I want to be? And it has nothing to do with money yet, because all of that comes into play once you get to the source of what you need to do for yourself. So what happens is people get caught up. Like, men have urges, right? We all have urges, but I'm just talking about men for a second. Men may have urges that may cause them to listen to their hormones instead of doing things in a process that is beneficial to their situation. So they may get caught up where they have a baby too soon, right? And now they got to figure out, okay, well, I got to feed this baby. I ain't got time for myself right now. This baby comes first. That's fine, because now you put yourself in a survival situation where you don't have time to worry about what you need, worry about what you got going on, right? Because now there's a mouth to feed. I understand those dynamics, because in everything in life, nothing comes out picture perfect. We always got to deal with little things called obstacles. Not saying that a child is an obstacle, but taking care of them becomes the obstacle. Emotionally, physically, and all that other stuff, right? So we as humans, we constantly creating situations for ourselves every day. Every day we're creating situations, whether we feed ourselves correctly, whether we're getting the right type of work to do to feed our to income wise. It's always a process. But some point in your life, you got to sit down and do what's called a reflection. And you got to look at your life and say, is this the path that I'm going on leading to the answer that I'm looking for? And then sometimes people don't even know what they're looking for, because they haven't taken the time to think. Inner thoughts, inner thinking, like they call it introspection. Some people are naturally introspective, and some people, it takes them a little bit of work. It takes them a little bit of questioning. You got to go online and pull up those questionnaires. I took a questionnaire yesterday. I'm always taking questionnaires. And it's called the Index of Learning Styles questionnaire by the North Carolina State University, and the author is Felder and Solomon. This questionnaire, it tells you how you learn. It's like a breakdown of assessment of how you learn. So this particular one, it asks you about 44 questions. And the end result tells you 4 different traits about your learning style. So it's reflective. It's split. Reflective, intuitive, verbal, sequential. And then you have active, sensing, visual, and global. I scored reflective, intuitive, verbal, sequential. I scored really, really high on verbal. Everything else was kind of in between. So with me being reflective, it says a reflective learner tends to be quiet, introspective, and thinking. They examine info on a research type process. They tend to need time to process new information. So that's why, like, sometimes when I'm talking about a heavy topic that I just really kind of research with you guys online, I might take a few days off from YouTube, because now I need to learn more new information, and it takes me time to really absorb the information internally. I don't like to be regurgitative where I learn something and I just spewed it out. I tend to take time to make it become a self-concept. So with adults, we tend to learn differently than children. Children don't have anything to compare and contrast. Oops, this thing about to fall out. When children are learning, they don't have anything to compare it to, because they're babies. They're just now coming into the world, and they're like, okay, so children tend to learn subject per subject. There's a word that they call that. Hold on. I wrote it down yesterday. Damn, where did I write it at? Oh, it's called pedagogy. Pedagogy. Right here. Pedagogy. Pedagogy. That's how children learn. Adults learn andragogy. I know you're like, what is all these words? Well, it's good to learn these words because it gives you an idea of how things work in the big scope. So I take small things and I work my way up. Then sometimes I go from a top-down approach where I might look at the big picture and then I'll dissect it. And then sometimes I take things from the smallest perspective and then I go upwards with it, right? So if I'm reading something and a particular word don't make sense to me, I tend to go look it up first before I continue the whole reading session. So as I'm learning new stuff, it's like, oh, it gives it a better, full, deeper meaning when you understand every word that you're reading. Some people like to skim through stuff and be like, blah, 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 and they might get the big picture, but they're not solution oriented. In order to be solution oriented, the proof and sometimes is in the details. So if I ran through this and just say adult learning, I wouldn't understand what exactly is adult learning. So when they say andragogy, I'm sorry, and it's cold in here. So we as adults, we learn with something called self-concept. It's like, when I read something and I learn something, how does it affect me? Like, what are the emotions I'm feeling, the thoughts? Can I relate to it? Is it something that's happened to me in the past? You see what I'm saying? They say adults are problem-oriented versus subject-oriented. So we look at the big scope and we see where is the problem in that situation versus just reading things subject to subject to subject to subject. Well, this is not for everybody. So this concept is debatable, and psychologists have been debating on if this is the only way. But as with psychology, one thing may open up people's eyes and it may lead to other things. So this is not the end all be all method. I'm just giving y'all a little synopsis on certain things that may open your eyes to like, oh, okay. When you understand, okay, so first example, it says adults may be more motivated to learn because of the internal factors like self-esteem, curiosity, achievement, satisfaction, and then it may be in external motivators like, well, how much money am I making at my job? Is it worth me learning this new task? If there's a promotion involved, if there's like some recognition. So there's different things that make people want to learn, behave a certain way, change their situation, change their character. All leads back to, how do you view yourself? How do you view life? What makes you happy? These are things that we take for granted every day. We just go about our daily day life and we only worry about the basic physiological needs. But as you can see, mental health is at an all-time crisis. Mental health is in an all-time crisis because the powers that be have played a mental game on us. For all these years, they've been telling us the things that we need to learn without telling us the things that are actually going to attack our spirit, attack our mental. So they told us we need to go to school, we need to learn subjects, we need to learn how to feed ourselves, but they never told us about spiritual growth, mental growth, none of that stuff. It was by design. It was for us to mentally kill each other off. It's sad. It's very sad because a lot of people, they have this leech mentality. They have this predatorial, I gotta take you out before you take me out mentality. And that's, unfortunately, that's what's the groups that are forming today. I'm taking my time to grow my channel because this channel for me is not a marketing strategy, it's a career. Does that make sense? And when you organically grow your career, it's by experience, it's by wisdom, it's by, if I organically network with somebody, I don't want it to be because I force that relationship. I'm not going to go to a mental health podcast and be like, hey, come to my channel, let's have a group session. No, because that's not organic. And that's why a lot of these podcasts, they have these fallouts, because the intention behind it is very superficial. I'm not a superficial person. As long as y'all know me on here, y'all don't see a gimmicky. I'm not gimmicky. To me, it turns me off when I see gimmicky bullshit. When I watch gimmicky podcasts, it might be entertaining for the moment, depending on what I'm looking for. But with the stuff that I am bringing to you guys, it is not for entertainment. Yeah, I might have my little entertainment stuff, right? But that's just showing you a side of me, so y'all could see me as a human being. I don't want y'all to worship me as a celebrity. I don't want y'all to put more on me than who I am. I'm not perfect. No one in this world is perfect. And if anybody tries to tell you other, get away from that person, because they're a narcissist, right? We want to get to the point where we are showing our true self outside in the world and inside in your home. If you keep being fake, putting on a persona. Now, nobody's saying you got to go to work with your underwear and say, well, hey, this is how I look at home. You got to have class and decorum and understand when you at an office or you are out and about, you can't be rude, right? You might be rude at home, but why are you being rude? We have to ask these questions. There's a deeper feeling behind why you might be doing what you're doing. And you might say, well, that's just me. I'm just rude. Okay, if people are blunt, there's a difference between being blunt and being rude. If you're constantly being rude and offending people, chances are there's something going on with you that you got to go check. Something internally. You're feeling some lack of confidence, lack of self-worth. So now you have to offend other people because it makes you feel better about yourself. Because you're like, oh, they're not better than me. Look at them. They made a mistake. If your whole life is spent watching other people's mistakes and not helping, because I might watch people's mistakes, but it's because that's my career. And it's not really about the mistake. It's about watching the system of how you do things. That's what psychology is about. I'm watching the system of how you do things, and I might say, hey, there's a better way you might be able to implement that same lifestyle that you want without hurting yourself and hurting others. It's an organic way of helping. But if your intent, this is what God looks at too, the true nature of man is the intent. You might say, Lord, Lord, I got this way, I did this, I did all these good deeds. But in the true core of who you do it for or why you've doing it is based off of evil or some malintent, then that shows that there's something deeper in you that you haven't really come to grips with. And this is why I'm here. This is why my channel is here. Is to get to the core of people's bullshit. And while we talk about these things, it's not to judge you. That's why I said the other day I was a little emotional because it was something I haven't said in a while. But I will try my best to be, while being organic, I will try my best not to hurt people. Now, there's things that I might say when it comes to like straight up bad behavior, right? But I don't want to hurt people, because even the hurt people need people that may understand them. Because if I was to start a women's group, for example, a womanhood group, it will be probably maybe 50% of women that may have some, some bad feelings about the people in their life, maybe men, maybe their mom or dad or something like that. And they may express that. And there's nothing wrong with that, because they're telling their feelings, their stories. But the difference with me is that we're not going to stay on that. We're not going to stay on the bandwagon of anti-men, anti-this, anti-babies, anti-motherhood. We're not doing that. It's not healthy. It's not healthy. You can still center your life without saying you have to decenter somebody else. If you're saying you're decentering someone else, you're still giving them too much power. I'm just saying. You're still wrapping your whole ideology around something else. It's still minusing you. You're the main subject. You're the main subject. If you come to me and say, hey, Cece, I want to stop thinking about women, because right now my baby mama left me, or my ex-wife left me, and I'm just so, right now, like, the way I feel about women, they all can get it, and not in a good way, right? So you come to me and like, every time we do a session, you're like, man, women are horrible people. Ba 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 ba. Ba 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 ba. That's what it sounds. That's what it starts to sound like. Ba 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 ba. And then I'm like, okay, let's talk about you now. Let's talk about, well, what are your goals? Well, the last goal I had, Shaniqua, she the one told me that I should go back to school. So, I go back to school for that bitch. And then next thing you know, she's sleeping with somebody else. So I don't even want to go to school no more. So I at this point, I just want to work and get some money. So that way these women, they don't be up all in my pockets. They, you know what I'm saying? Worrying about my credit score. It's like, I get that you want to get this off your chest. But if every session we're talking about women, and you're saying you're trying to find you as a man, it defeats the purpose. Same thing with the women. Every session y'all get together as womenhood, so-called womenhood, right? And this is not me judging. I'm just bringing y'all psychological and analysis. We have to sometimes sit back and do what's called reflection, not just of self, but reflect on everything. On everything. When I hear some of these podcasts and they're talking about womanhood, the main focus is on talking about the opposite sex. Leave them alone when you're talking about yourself. We are focused on self. Like I told y'all in my last video, when I started having babies, I thought first, okay, I can't get it right with men. I'm either too clingy or too not clingy, like cold, like, you know what I'm saying? I'm talking about, like, as you start to discover your relationships, you start to look back and say, okay, was I the problem? Was they the problem? Were we both the problem? You know, these are things you have to start thinking about, right? And then you start to say, this is me back then. So I said, okay, well, I can't get it right with the men. Let me have a baby. Now, I'm just kind of giving y'all a quick synopsis. That's not how it went exactly. Watch my last video. I explained how I met my ex-husband. And I thought by having the ready-made family, like producing a family with him, was going to solve my inner problems. And it didn't. It all goes back to you. So before you run out and start spreading your royal oats, ladies, men, first understand who you are as a person. If you don't understand that first, there was a time I didn't like to spend time by myself. I didn't like to spend time alone. It's one thing to say, I like company. I like people. I like children. I like being around my family. That's one thing. But if it comes to the point where you don't like yourself, then you have some work to do. You gotta like who you are as a person. If there's some things that you feel like, oh, I can't stand that about myself, find out why. Find out why. For example, if you're overweight, right? And you say, okay, I don't like myself because I'm overweight. Why not? Why don't you like yourself because you're overweight? Like, I don't have the best body. I have a stomach. I mean, it goes and it comes, right? But I still love me. I love who, like, I'm proud of who I am as a person. I'm not rich. It ain't even about being rich. I'm not like the baddest bitch, right? It's not about that. It's not. I promise, ladies, I promise you, especially if you're young, I promise you it ain't about that. But you have to ask yourself, why don't you like yourself? And people say, oh, these girls, they wear weaves. They don't like themselves. Bullshit. Bull freaking shit. There are women with real hair that hate everything about themselves, in and out. They may have taken 5 years to love their hair and hate everything else about themselves. And then you have women that throw wigs on and love themselves. They can snatch that wig off and be like, what? I still look good? What's the problem? And they may not look as attractive as you might say, but it's about how do they feel about themselves. Okay? They may have 1,000 stretch marks, skin hanging, and they love every bit of themselves. We all have ways of self-improvement. But we're not talking about self-improvement right now. We're talking about first getting to the core of you loving you. Strip yourself in the mirror. Look at yourself. Take all your weave out, take all your makeup off, and you say, I love you. And this is men and women. I love you. Because you are this, and name all the great things about yourself. Whether it's another good thing you could do. Things that you haven't accomplished yet, but that you're thinking about, name it as that trait. So if I'm trying to become a psychologist and I say, I love that I'm a psychologist. I love that about myself. Put that on yourself. If you haven't been a mom yet, just say, I love being a mom. I would love to be a mom. And I love that I have the trait of being a good mom. I love that I'm a great wife. I love that my husband loves what I cook. I love that I nurture this family. I love that when they come home, I am their safe space. I love when my children put their head on my bosoms. You gotta really appreciate yourself. Because ain't nobody out there gonna do it. They don't give two shits about you. It's the person that is in the mirror that is the first person that you're gonna see and the first person you need to love. If your mama ain't do it, if your daddy ain't do it, you do it. Now is not the time to sit up here and say, it's all my mama's fault, I don't love myself. Yes, mama has played a role, Daddy may have played a role. Siblings may have played a role. The group home may have played a role. Your adopted family may have played a role. Your job may have played a role. Your school may have played a role. But at the end of the day, they don't make you. You still are in control to change all of that. It may not happen overnight, but it can happen. I am a living testimony that it can happen. I tell y'all bits and pieces of my life and stuff like that. But when you put it all together, you be like, dang, that's a lot of shit to go through. I was telling my kids from when they were younger, and my kids now, they look at me, they're like, you need to write a bestseller. And I said, yeah, I want to when I have time. My daughter's like, nope. I need you to go get a tape recorder and start now. So I was like, okay, I'm going to do that. So that's going to be my birthday gift to myself, is a nice, expensive tape recorder. And I'm just going to start talking in narrative about from the time I can remember as a child up until today. My first memory of my childhood is throwing up so much because I had no food in the fridge. So I come from very humble beginnings. Y'all remember that story I told y'all where my mother put me in the closet for 3 days with no food? These are things that it broke me, but it didn't break me to the point where I couldn't restructure my life and restructure my mental, restructure myself. I didn't do it alone, but I'm just saying there's many people I could contribute some of my glory days. One of those was Tim Robbins. I read his first book, something about the beast within. And I started watching his podcast. And as I evolved, there was different peoples that I watched. When I went to therapy, different relationships, whether they were toxic or not, it taught me lessons. It taught me things. It's like, okay, this don't need to be like this. You need to get it together, right? Being a mom taught me things. All these things will teach you what you either need to be doing or don't need to be doing. And men have a higher role to play when it comes to understanding mental health, because men feel like they always have to be strong. Oh, I can't let them see. It's like, just give it up. Just give up the fakeness. Just give up the fake persona, because at the end of the day, you only have you to deal with. Because when you finally fall apart, people not gonna know what to do. If you have a wife or a daughter or a son, and you're constantly just showing them that one side. Yeah, daddy's strong. Husband, I'm the strong husband. I'm the strong provider. And then inside you're breaking apart. I think there was a book I read called Men Cry in the Dark, I think, back in the day. And it was talking about, like, there's so many inner turmoil that men contemplate in their brain, but they just stone cold on the outside. Because the minute they feel like they can show a little bit of their true self, there's always somebody pointing a finger. See, you a simp. See, you a punk. Like early this morning, this video came in my algorithm, and this young guy, he was talking about how he didn't like the Marine. He had signed up for the Marines, and he just felt like they were just like disrespecting him. I guess he didn't realize the reality of what the military was. But statistics show the military causes a lot of mental health illness. So the boy was absolutely correct when he noticed that. He said, I don't want to be a part of this. You're not finna wreck my mental health. And he said, I'm out. And you had all these men in there, instead of understanding he's speaking from the mental health aspect of what it did to him. He did mention it was a racist, that the Marine was racist. He said it's the most racist out of the military, right? That's his personal perception. I could see them saying, okay, that's debatable. The Marine is not as racist as you say it is. Okay. But the other part is where I have a problem with. They were calling him a punk pussy ass da-da-da-da-da-da-da-da. Oh, you can't handle it. You can't this and you can't that. That's the problem. There's not enough men supporting other men through the mental anguish that they deal with on a regular basis. Men succumb to a lot more conformation than females. Females, we conform, but if we don't want to do something, majority of the times a female not going to do it. But a man, he always wants to hold up to that standard, to that obligation. You know what I'm saying? Like, that's why it's like, you say statistics show like more women will break up a relationship or put in for divorce, because women, when we don't like something, we don't care what you think. Majority of the time, we just gonna do it. All of that. That's why a man be like, well, we prefer if a woman is submissive. They want you submissive because they know that we're flighty in our emotions. So their fear is like, man, what if she wake up one day, feel froggy, and be like, I'm packing my shit, I'm out of here, nigga. I ain't dealing with your shit, right? So he has to get you in that point where he feels comfortable that you're going to stay, that you love him enough and that you're loyal enough to stick it out. But a lot of times, in some situations, he doesn't deserve it, because both of y'all are coming from broken places, toxicity, and both of y'all ain't do the work. So you're just basically playing Russian roulette in your marriage or in your relationship until one person either figures it out. One of us got to get healed, and then they both go to therapy or something like that, and then they really get to the bottom nitty gritty of the fears, the doubts, and all the other stuff. You see what I'm saying? I watched this show. I was binge watching for a couple days. The Power, 50 Cent show. I hate my lips get dry, but my Vaseline is in the living room. 50 Cent made that show called Power, but he made a spin-off, Power Part 2, with the children. And I don't remember the whole of the original Power. I know that light-skinned dude, the main character. I watched like 2 or 3 episodes with him and the wife, and then that Spanish girl he was cheating with. But I didn't really get all into it. Tommy, the white guy, I didn't know he was that diabolical. But when they showed him in part 2, I was like, okay, Tommy. Because in the first Power, Tommy just seems like an average white guy who's been raised in the hood. But the diabolical side of Tommy, I was like, okay, I like this show. Mary J. Blige was in this show. There was a couple of people I was like, their character was really hitting. Mary J. Blige's character was kind of dry at first, but when she really started kicking into the episodes, I said, man, this lady plays a really good narcissist. She was a really good narcissistic mother. She played that role to the T. And I liked the way she loved her kids, but she loved them as a possession. Typical narcissistic mom. But in the end, she did apologize, and I felt that she apologized. But sorry, spoiler alert, right? But the character that stood out to me, is probably a lot of people didn't pay attention, was Effie. Effie was a really unique character out of all of them, because the young boy was the main character, right? He was the diabolical mental, he was like the psychopath. He was a psychopath because he was very predatorial. He was very intentional, very planned. He was very, very planned on how he did his shit. He didn't have antisocial. He wasn't like looking for the trouble, but he definitely knew when that trouble came, oh, I'm gonna fix your ass. I'm gonna fix your ass. He was like psychopathic, okay? He was a serial killer, but he played that role really well. But Effie, man, Effie was done so wrong throughout that whole fucking series. She was diabolical, right? She was a partial psychopath in the making. But what happened with Effie was that she had a lot of empathy, and the empathy became her kryptonite. Y'all gotta watch. When I watched that show, I watched each one of their personalities, and I said it's mighty funny how they need each other. So they were so interdependent on each other that it allowed them to make their life last longer. Because if it wasn't for them having that true friendship, A lot of them probably would have died out in the movie, right? In the series. But Iffy, her name is Effie. I think she's like either mulatto descent or maybe Spanish, Latina. But she was a cute girl. She was kind of short, pretty hair. She was had it always had it like really nicely done. She always had her nails really nicely done. She was a bad bitch. She was always dressed nice. She was strong. She came from humble beginnings, but she was smart. She was a computer engineer, a computer programmer. And throughout the movie, she was always coming through for them. Whether it was like, and it's like, no matter how much she did for the crew, she was always underappreciated. Now there was a guy named Kane. He initially took a liking to her because she was cute and everything. So he was more trying to, have sex with her. But eventually, when he seen her strength, that's why I said, women, you can't fall into a role of just your looks, right? Because initially, Kane had a cute girlfriend. And he would always run to her when shit hits the fan with his family. And she was the girl that he would just go sleep up with, use. And then when his family was back on track, he would forget about her. And that's what he thought he was going to do to Effie. But Effie was like, nah, dude, I'm not that one. Okay, I got a brain and I use it. So when he saw how smart she was, he was like respecting her. He was like, oh, I like her. I really, really, really like her. I think he was almost like to the point in love with her. But he saw that her path was not where he was going. You see what I'm saying? He wanted to stay in the drug business. And she was more of a intellectual. It's just that she was caught up. But just watching how her situation unfolded, it was just so sad. It was so sad that all that brains and beauty, and she succumbed to always trying to get people out of their shit. So sometimes when you're strong, you can't be the sponge for everybody else's bullshit. You got to put yourself first. And I hate to be the spoiler alert, but at some part in the movie, I don't want to give it too much away, but at some part in the movie, God gave her that exit. And he said, it's time for you to put yourself first. And this part of the movie made me cry because I saw a lot of myself. Sometimes you put yourself first because other people don't understand that you have to be a little selfish to get where you need to go. And then you come back and you help those that need you. She put herself on the back burner each and every time. Each and every time. And in this last situation, she had finally, she finally reached her goal. She had finally reached her goal. And this was her opportunity to move on with her life and do what she needed to do. But she couldn't help but help this person. There was a person that she helped, and in order to help that person, it meant giving up that goal that she had, that dream. And she went back to work for the drug dealer guy, and it was like, dang. So it was like a vicious cycle all over again. So I looked at her and I'm like, dang, that's a hard thing to do, because the person she helped, they had helped her a couple times in a couple of situations, right? So she's like, man, I got to return the favor and help this person. But now it's at the sacrifice of herself. And the person was like, I'm going to come back and help you. And I believe him. I believe he was going to come back and help her. But they ended the series. They ended the season. So I don't know. I don't think they're coming back. But he was like, man, you really got me out this situation, and I'm going to come back and help you. And she was like, just the story of my life. Do what you got to do. Whether you come back or not, just do what you got to do, because that's just what I'm used to doing. She became a persona, a role. And sometimes people get you and they keep you stuck in a role where you're always either the invisible person, or your strength is so strong and powerful that people forget to be themselves, fight their own fight, and they leech off of you or lean on you too much to the point where it sucks the life out of you. There's a, Scorpios have, when they have Scorpio babies, right? The Scorpio, the insect, when they have babies, it's been known that the babies will stay on top of their backs and suck the energy and suck their vitamins and food and nutrients off the mother, to the point where they can literally kill the mother, until the mother Scorpio throws the babies off, like, get off of me, you had enough, right? Sometimes people don't know that they're draining the life out of you. You see what I'm saying? And then in the other situation with Mary J. Blige, she had her 3 kids working for her drug business, but she felt that by keeping them close, she was always protecting them. And they were getting to the point where, like, stifling, they were suffocated. They're like, Ma, we want to just do our own thing. Let us go. And she refused to let them go. It was like this weird dysfunction, to the point where she stifled her own kids and crippled them. And they sucked the life out of her. She wanted them to suck the life out of her. So it's like, you got to understand sometimes the role you put out, the role you make people see, and then the true you. You see what I'm saying? It's sort of like partially a control thing with some people. They say, well, as long as I know you need me, I can control you, right? That could be one aspect. And they may not realize they're being controlling. And then you may have another aspect where they're internally weak and they're fearful that the people around them will leave. So they find ways to make themselves useful enough that the person uses you until they can't use you no more. These are all levels of dysfunction. So the girl Effie, she inserted herself in a lot of situations that she could have been like, I don't know, I don't want to deal with that, bye. But she always felt guilty, always felt obligated, and was like, oh, all right. But that part that makes you feel like, all right, that's your instinct telling you, walk away. If you got to be like, all right, that means you don't want to do it. That means everything in your core is telling you no, but you decide to go against yourself, your true self, because either you don't want to look like you don't care, or you don't want to look bad, or you feel guilty. All these feelings are not normal feelings. They're dysfunctional feelings. Why are you feeling guilty in something you didn't do anything? Why are you feeling guilty because this person put themselves in a bad situation? So because you love them, now you feel guilty about it. It's just like, a lot of times in these situations, the person that's making you feel guilty have a pattern of putting themselves in that situation over and over and over. And you're like, why am I always helping you out of your shit? When you have to have those type of conversations, you need to start looking at yourself too. And I had to come to grips with myself. Always bailing people out of this shit. And then you become the main person that they blame. Well, you could have helped me more. Or you didn't have to help me. Or you making me feel bad. Because now that you might help them, and then you try to give them a pep talk, and they're like, don't tell me what to do. Oh, but you could use my money, or you could use my time. But if I tell you what to do, it's a whole fucking problem. I'm pretty sure a lot of us have been there. So this is all part of the mental health healing, that you have to be able to get to that point where you are in control of your destiny. Now, I know the ultimate creator is in control of everything, but the level of power that he gives us to be able to control certain shit, you got to take control over it. Don't let the situations can take control over you, is what I'm trying to say. So, sorry, I got a little emotional there. I be trying not to. I'm such a softie, but I try to get y'all to see the human side of me, not just the psychology side, because it's not just about facts and spewing facts. It's about understanding the true core dynamics of human nature and human psychology. We can't understand human psychology if we don't understand all the aspects that go with it, like the emotional aspect, the spiritual aspect. You know what I mean? Damn, my lips look like chalk. So Yeah, it's been an hour. It's over an hour. Usually when it goes over an hour, it takes so long to download. I'd be so mad. The reason why I let my videos go so long is because I know 2 years from now, I don't know what the world's going to look like. I fear to think, right? People going to look back at these old, long, drawn out, organic, boring videos and be like, man, this is what I needed to hear. Not the quick 10 seconds. Get your bag. You know, all that bullshit, right? Because that's where the world is heading. It's heading to superficial marketing, get it quick, microwave generation. And that part I refuse to give up. That organic nature that I have, the old school, I'm not letting that go. Okay? Because that's who I am. That's who I am. I'm an old soul. And even though I'm old now, I just feel like I don't have to prove nothing to nobody. I don't. I don't have to show boobies and tatas and buttocks to try to market views. I'm not finna do that. If you don't want to hear what I got to say, you don't have to view it. You don't have to subscribe. But there are people out here who are mentally suffering, and they need to hear this tea. Those are the people that God sent me to. Those are the people that I want to do this work for. And if I do stay in New York, I will be doing the work in person in the mental health field, inshallah. But in the meantime, between time, I want to start the online organizations for, they say part of healing is coming together in groups, sharing your experience, and then doing the work, the process it takes to get to the work, right? It doesn't always have to be like a one-on-one sitting down on a couch with therapists. It doesn't always have to be that way. You can get with groups of like-minded situations. So that's the first thing I want to do. And then I'm going to let God sort of lead the rest of the way for me, right? But I want it to be where if you have ideas on how we can grow this sort of networking, meaning it can grow past me. Like I want to see other people doing it. Let's say I'm the first that starts that sort of situation. I want to see other people doing it. So I see people on podcasts, right? That's not what I mean when I say starting groups. I see people on podcasts and they'll say things like, oh, you could join my group on Patreon or something like that. And we're talking about women empowerment. To that extent, I want to do that. However, as I was saying earlier in the video, it won't be about blame shifting. I want to stay away from blame shifting. We're focusing on the true self, talking about the true self. For example, what makes you happy? What are your inner joys? Let's talk about the inner joys of each individual in this group. And then we come together and collaborate. Okay, what are you trying to do? Where are you at with it? And what are you trying to do to get to the next level to get that, right? Statistics show, like, in economics, right? We're going to talk about economics. People start at different levels. So if, let's say, you come from a dysfunctional home setting, you're now at a disadvantage than a person that's got a rich family. So if you're in a group of people and we're all talking about true self, self-love, awareness, worthiness, and let's say a person is still under like drug addiction, their goals may be nowhere near the person next to them. So when they're hearing these goals about some people saying like, you know, I want to be a good wife, they're not probably even thinking about becoming anybody's wife because they're still on drugs, right? So when you're talking, they may not be able to relate to you. So then I want to be able to say, okay, each person that has left this group, if there's anything that you feel that is personal to you, that you want customized to your situation, I want to have a one-on-one with you. So that way you don't feel like, okay, well, I left this group and everybody else was talking about their great BMW and their husbands and wives and kids, and I'm still over here trying to figure out how am I going to get off of meth. How can I even see past that situation to even think about my self-worth, right? And then you could point out things to them like the fact that you took the first step to even be here is where we need to talk about. Where we need, what is pushing you to even start here? We need to give you A for effort for that. So whenever you get on that meth and you think about that group. Think about that group that you was just talking to and how that one person seen the light in you. Let's compound on that. Because every day is going to be a battle if you're on drugs. Every day. Even just picking up a vape pen. Your boss stressing you out. Your schoolwork stressing you out. Your kids is in the crib screaming and yelling for freaking bottles. And you're like, oh my gosh. And you just want to pick up that pipe or pick up that vape pen. And the thing about it is that when you're dealing with drugs, you don't even know if that one last hit gonna be your last for real hit. And you're like, well, you know what? If whatever's pushing me to get that hit, if it's gonna take me out of here, let it be. Because that's what people, sometimes when they're on to that last leg of hope, they don't care. They don't care what you got to say. They don't care. It's like only thing that matters is how they feel right the freak now. So now what you have to do is you have to get them to not think like that, period. And that's a process. It's not easy. It's a process. When people don't have nothing to live for, you gotta figure out, well, what do you want to live for? It's kind of like being on a suicide hotline. You don't know what to say at that point because you don't know what is worthy to that person. So this work that I'm doing, it's not easy work. I already know that. I already know the journey is not easy. I initially wanted to be a lawyer. But what I realized about being a lawyer is that part of being a lawyer is being the devil. And I don't mean to say it like that. I know there's good lawyers out there. I get it. And we do need more organic people in the legal system that's willing to deal with those demons that's in the legal system and still help people organically, right? I just knew I just didn't want to be, that's more than I want to deal with, right? Meaning like, let's say I decide to become a lawyer and I'm a damn good lawyer. I'm organic. I'm helping the people. I have to do all that work and then still fight these unjust demons like the judges, the politicians, the police officers, the ones that are corrupt. So now I got all of this going against me. So at some point I may have to start getting a little tit for tat. I got to go a little bit below the belt at times to win a case. I got to lie a little bit. I got to finagle some stuff a little bit because we playing a dirty game. And I just didn't want to be a part of that because I don't want to have to answer on the day of judgment where I possibly did a case wrong and put somebody behind prison. You know what I mean? Like, I just don't want to deal with that. So as I started realizing, I was like, the legal system is just corrupt from the core. I can't. At least with mental health, it's just as much schooling as law. But I feel like I could sleep at night. I may not be able to help everybody out of their crisis, but at least I know I could sleep at night. If I was doing law, I don't think I could sleep with some of the things I would have to do to win a case. And more than likely, I would be a defense attorney versus prosecution. Because prosecution, you always got to plant evidence and find evidence and make people look corrupt that you're not even sure if they corrupt. It is too much. But that field, couldn't do it. I'm too sensitive. I'm too soft. No, couldn't do it. I had a dream. I don't remember what day it was, but this guy was worshiping Satan. And God had sent me somewhere in somebody's house. And he was trying to conform his daughter into Satan worship. And I had on this like type of cop uniform or something. And then he was like, who are you? And I said, I'm the enforcer. That's in the dream. And I kept telling God, I was like, can you show me? Okay, so before that part of the dream, I was in a semi truck. It was a white guy, a black guy, me, and we all went into IHOP to eat. We didn't finish eating. Somehow we ended up in a house. And the white guy, he was very evil and racist. I remember that because he kept saying jokes about foreigners and foreign people being da 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 da. And I remember he had militia weapons. But I remember there was a beast in his basement. It was like, I couldn't see what the beast looked like, but he kept going down there, getting his superpowers, praying to it and stuff like that. And he would come back up and he was trying to get his daughter to do it. And I couldn't really understand what this dream was when I woke up, because I had came to try to stop it, but it was too powerful. And something came in my ear and said, get out of there. So I got everybody out of there. I got the little girl out of there. I got the man, the black dude out of there. But what that dream kind of, I think what it's trying to say is that racial tensions are going to get high in the next couple of years, and food is going to get low. That's what I got out of the dream. It's going to be a lot of military weapons on the scene, and people are going to get hurt. I had another dream. I wrote it down. It's in my other. I have a journal book where I write these prophetic dreams. I don't think it's this book. Yeah, it's my other book. I had another dream, and I can't remember it right now. But it's what I got out of that other dream. It was about food shortage. So it's imperative that we get our minds right, because what's to come, you're going to need a lot of mental strength to handle this. The stuff that I foresee coming it's going to be deep. It's going to be deep. Y'all got to stop these race wars. I know there's a okay, every agenda that's out on the planet right now is to divide the humankind, whether it's race, homosexuality, gender differences, classism. I made a video about this a while back. I was on a truck and I said, when shit hit the fan, you're not going to care if your next door neighbor is gay, white or black, male or female. Okay? That's what God is trying to teach us. Let these movements do what they do. They're gonna do it. The Kamala movement, they're gonna do what they do. The abortion against no abortion. Y'all have to get to that point. It said it in the Bible somewhere. You have to separate yourself from the world, because it's gonna seem like you don't know what's real anymore. But that's the secret. They're trying to put you in their matrix so that you're confused to the point where you don't know what's real anymore. Which was the pill in the matrix that they take to wake up? Okay, whatever pill that it was, the red pill. When you wake up, and I'm not talking about these red pill movements. I'm talking about the real Matrix movie with Christopher. What was his name? The tall, cute white guy. That movie is a true depiction on what's to come. Okay, that dude that's making Tesla now, he already know. He part of it. He part of the Matrix. But he be giving us little signals, warning us, but at the same time, he is actually doing it too. Does that make sense? Okay. This system, they understand psychology. These people have studied all these books that I'm reading now. They've mastered it. That's why they make a lot of jokes when it comes time for the political movement, because there's something in psychology that when you take a really chaotic, serious, messed up situation and you put jokes in it, it will de-arm the people listening. It will desensitize them. If they came on there, if Trump and Kamala and all of them came on there and really told y'all what's to come and what they finna do, y'all gonna listen up with different type of ears. All right? So that's why right now they asking them specific questions that will get funny answers, jokes. Oh, Trump, you know how Kamala makes fun of Trump's hair or Trump's this, and then he makes fun of her, slowness or whatever. It's all part of the trickery. And if you don't wake up and realize you have to get out of this illusionment, this is an illusion right now. They're selling you an illusion. They're selling you a dream. There is no American dream. All of that is fake. It's fake. They're about to give y'all fake food, fake automobiles. Everything is going to be an illusion. So you have to still keep that mindset that you have to be fluid enough to love everybody. Now, I'm not saying love evil people, right? Because anybody could say that they believe in God or they're a good person and then they're not a good person. They got children in the basement. Remember how I came to y'all 2 weeks ago and I said this whole Puff Daddy movement is not about just Puff Daddy. They're about to open up child trafficking scandals. It's because somebody got caught and they're trying to leak it before the main person gets exposed. They're trying to kind of divert you to other people. P. Diddy was the middleman. And I kept telling y'all that, and some people didn't like what I had to say. But now y'all see it's all unfolding. That's why I'm not saying nothing no more. I just bring y'all the tea, and I shut the fuck up. Because my channel is not about gossip and the latest celebrity news. I watch the other people for that, right? But you say, well, how did you know me? How did I know personally? One, because I had dreams about it before it happened. A year ago, about a year and a half ago, I had a dream about black men. And I posted it on my community tab. It was a short, 30-second short, or 1 minute short, talking about the incarceration system. They're going to start putting chips into the black men, into the incarceration system. This is how they're going to mind control the black men. What they're going to do is they're going to take out the aggression trait in black men. That's one of the main motives. The aggression trait allows black men to think in a survival instinct. 95, or I could be getting the statistics wrong, but about 95 to 90 or 98%, psychologically speaking, humans tap into their instinct. It's only in the last, I think, 40, 50 years, we've been tapping into the other 10%, which is the logical brain. The problem with only thinking logically is that if you're put somewhere in a forest or in a survival situation where you have to run for your life, it's not going to kick in quick enough. So that's why you need both. God created us as instinctual beings. And then we have to discipline some parts of those instincts, right? That sexual nature, that part of sexual nature is aggression. So we have to tame that part of our nature. You have some men out here saying, don't tame that part of your nature. It's natural to be sleeping around. No. You have to tame certain parts of your body, that beastly thing. So the dream was about black men. What's gonna happen to y'all? There's a lot that I be feeling and seeing in my dreams and just in general that I don't talk about on YouTube, but because I don't want people to be like, oh, is she a psychic? I am pretty clairvoyant. I've always had that gift since as a child. I've been very clairvoyant, right? So I tried to warn black men last year, and people took it the wrong way in the trucking community. They were like, oh, she's talking about black men, blah, 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 blah. So I said, you know what? I'm staying away from that subject because people take it too sensitive, and it wasn't my intent. It was me trying to warn them that the Grim Reaper is here. And the first one that's on the chopping block was the black men. Then I was going to bring up the fact that black women was going to be the portal to make certain shit happen. It's so much that I don't want to get off on the mental health topic. This is more me on the mystical side. I can't help it. I'm a Scorpio, y'all. But we have to keep our street eyes on when it comes to this beast out here. It's coming for all of us. I'm just letting you know who's the first on the chopping block. The reason why the black men are on the first on the chopping block is because of y'all aggression. They look at your aggression as a threat to the powers that be. Because the instinctual nature is to survive. Self-preservation. They want us to disarm our self-preservation and look at them as, oh, mommy and daddy, please save me. Please save me. I can't think for myself. Oh, I shouldn't have a razor blade because they're going to think I'm a bad person. Do. I'm in the matrix. I am now a robot. They have now transformed me. I don't need protection. They are my protection. This is where you're heading. And if y'all don't wake the fuck up, if you had to go to the store and the only thing you could do to feed your family is to give them your DNA where they could put a chip in you, what you gonna do? What you gonna do? Because when they're able to take that chip off, they can starve you to death. Part of it is through the credit cards. You miss one late payment, what happens to your credit score? Y'all don't see it already unfolding? You got these cars now are able to fly, able to go into the water. They can program a car while you're driving it to turn to the other direction and fall into the river. You're going to see cars floating in the river and you don't know how the freak it got there. This is what's going to happen to y'all if you don't get out the matrix. And the only way to start really getting out the matrix is tapping into seeing what's going on first and having a strategy. You need to start telling your children about this because they're going to be the ones that is, how you would say, not the scapegoat, because right now we're the scapegoats. So they're going to tell your children it's our fault. They're going to blame the everyday people when your kids get older and say, we made this crazy situation. And they're saving us from it, saving them from it. So if you don't tell your children now and prepare, they've been telling us for centuries, prepare, the time is near, right? The time is here, knocking. The Grim Reaper is here knocking. So this is why you have to train your mental. Get strong. Stop worrying about serving the almighty dollar. That's what got you in this place. That's what got you in this mess in the first place. You men worrying about what women worrying about, wallets. Forget all that. Try to find a female that ain't about that life. If she needs the latest birth. This is another problem. You only want to date these women that have this look. She got the nicest bag. She's the best dressed. She got the baddest body. Nicest car. She's getting out her little Mercedes. Click, 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 click. Okay? And you're like, damn. Miss Parker. Was that her name from Friday? This is the problem. Y'all fall for the delusion. Remember in the Matrix, I think it sent, was it somebody walking in a red dress or something like that to throw you off? It's like in the Matrix, you get all these little distractions that throws you off to say, am I in the deja vu part of the Matrix, or am I in the real Matrix, or am I out the Matrix? So it's like, there's always this little test every now and then that makes you feel like, am I really in the Matrix? You ever been in a bad relationship? It was so bad that you had to really be like, is this really happening right now? Am I really packing my bags? Am I really catching this person cheating on me? Like you ever been in a type of situation where you're like, is this real? Whether it be a relationship or your job or you just got fired and you're like, is this really happening to me? And then you get to that point where real life is here. That's when you're out the Matrix. That feeling. It's not a good feeling, right? It feels too real. The intensity of it. You can't handle it. And you want to jump back into the fantasy. That's why you jump back into these toxic relationships. Because you can't handle the real. The real is too powerful. That's why you got to get to that point where you're not attached to anything, but you understand your assignment. If you're strong enough to walk away from everything, then that's when you understand the matrix. But not too many people want to walk away. Not too many people can envision leaving their big mansion, their nice little Tesla that they just, you know what I mean? They corrupt kids, the corrupt spouse, the corrupt job, the toxic foods. Not too many people are willing to walk away from it all. And that's the problem. They're so busy worrying about how is life outside of this shit. And they don't put their true faith in God and say, listen, if this ain't serving me, there's going to be another door open that God will show me another way. But they don't do that. And they wonder why stuff is just constantly repeating. It's like rinse, repeat. How you say? Rinse, wash, repeat, some shit. That's the story of their life. They don't get out of that pattern. It's a pattern that's happening. I'm frozen. But I don't want to walk over there. It's only but so much I can say. Some of it you just have to really just get it. You just got to get it. There's some people that they just get it. Some of my subscribers, y'all deep. Y'all probably deeper than me, right? I Am Your Mind. He always sends me, shout out to you, sweetie. He always sends me like these deep videos. A lot of times I don't get to watch every last one of them because I can't wait till I finish school. I can't wait because that's when y'all gonna see more of me and more of my organic intensity. But I always got to be worrying about, like right now, as soon as I get off, I'm going to go eat something and then I have to type up this paper. So, but it's worth it because in the long run, I'll have the expertise to really conduct assessments. But he sends me these deep videos, and sometimes these videos, they make me think. Like MK Ultra, we take it for granted that we think it's something of the past. And we say, oh, that was just some stuff, test subjects that they would, because some of these test subjects was to see how long people could go without sleep. And they realize, people start seeing things. They start having illusions. So it's like, if the human mind can put you through all of that just off of 3 days of no sleep, can you imagine what these people are doing to us? They've studied us like test subjects. Half of us that are walking around here is not using our full, complete, functional brain. And I'm not trying to be funny. Half of us running around here, we don't even realize we're dysfunctional. And then your kids, they grow up and they hate you because they see dysfunction all over you. You're sitting up there telling them, you better come home and do your homework. And they're like, when was the last time you washed your ass, mom or dad? When was the last time you said something nice to me? And you're like, well, that doesn't matter. I'm your mother. I'm your father. It's like they can see the dysfunction on you and you're trying to tell them what to do. We're living in a land of dysfunction. It's like a movie that they call Idiocracy, where majority of the people were idiots. And there was so many people that get unalive because people don't think. People don't process things. They don't know what's going on. They're not paying attention. You know what I mean? You got people that get hit by a bus because they're so busy watching the phone. How are you crossing the street and not watching the street? This world, man, social media is demonic. We have to detox from all this craziness. All these weird podcast people that come on there and tell you to hate everybody. And they say it's in the name of love. And you end up getting off the podcast and hating your wife, hating your kids. It's crazy out here. We have to really be careful of what we're listening to. We have to get to the point of detoxing and get back into what's normal, what's healthy for your mental, but still pay attention and try your best not to get sucked into this matrix. Because it's coming. It's here, but it's working its full capacity. I would say within the next 4 years, we're going to be at the full capacity at the mark of the beast. It's coming. You're not gonna be able to do anything without their say so. If you have outside investments, great. Start doing that. If you had outside property overseas, great. Start doing that. If you plan on getting the hell up out of here, great. Start doing that. You and your wife, you and your husband, you and your child, if you could save up a couple of pesos or wherever, get the hell out. Because this right here, this America and the people that work in cahoots with America, like the other nations, y'all know the nations. Y'all know the nations. I don't want to say those names and people come for my throat. Don't move to those cities. Don't move to those countries. But you got to get to that point where if it meant saving just $5,000 to go somewhere that is not so scrutinally under the mark of the beast, and you just basically got to start over, you might need to start thinking about that soon. Because this country and the countries that work in cahoots with this country, they're going to be the first to set that stage. Now you say, oh, well, I got a house already. I'm 45, I'm 50, and I'm settled in this house. That's fine. Nobody's saying you got to have, like, get the hell out now. But why not start traveling? Instead of just going one little city over on your vacation, why not start going to a city you've never been that you know is under the radar? At least if you have an idea of where to go. Maybe start putting in getting your passport now. Maybe start asking the locals how to get real estate. You know what I mean? The time is now. Maybe start looking into the job market there. Start looking into the retirement plans there. You never know. Once you start putting a thought in your head, you might have a friend or something like that and be like, hey, I just got a house in such and such state. Country. I would love for you to come and watch my house when I'm away. And you're like, wow, this shit just fell in my lap. One of your family members might win the lotto and be like, hey, you've always looked out for me. Here's $100K. You just never know. You have to keep your mind open. That's part of being outside of the matrix too. Not only thinking in conformity. That the only way to get money or only way to get lucky is by this, and this, and this. A lot of things that change people's life, that are life-changing, be things that they never expected. People that they never thought they would meet. That's just the way life works, and you have to understand that. Nature versus nurture. There are things that are unforeseen in this planet that we don't know yet, right? So you can't just chalk it up to only what you know. That's like putting yourself in a prison. There's a whole lot of stuff to nature other than just what you've grown up in. And that's the thing about me, is that's what I realize about life, is that I'm open to understanding everything. Life and death. The dark and the light. Because if I don't understand it, I won't be able to prepare myself. You see what I'm saying? Y'all feel what I'm saying? So I'm going into an hour and 30 minutes. I think I've ran my mouth enough. But this was just a quick mental health check-in. I know it wasn't that quick. When I say quick, is because I can be long-winded. Like, I could stay on here for about 2-3 hours easy. But I have things I have to do for myself for the day. And I kind of be missing y'all because I got used to seeing the video every day and reading your comments. Shout out to whoever left a comment in the last couple of days. I just been so busy to be, typing on the phone. I have to get a new phone. I ordered a new phone. This is a 12 Pro Max. I've had this phone for a minute. The memory is low. I got the lowest memory, 128 gigabytes. So I just recently ordered a 15 Plus with the 256 megabytes. And I got a pretty good deal from T-Mobile. So it wasn't that much more I had to put in, if that makes sense. But the mailman, he ain't ring the bell. He must have rang the lady downstairs bell on Friday. So now I got to wait for it to be delivered on Monday, because I was really hoping to get it this Friday. But the reason why I'm changing it, because it started saying liquid detected. I was like, what liquid? Nothing went in the phone. But I've had this phone for almost 3 years, I think. It's time for a new phone. So hopefully I like this new phone. The only thing I didn't like is that it doesn't offer, you know how you have screen timeout? The Pro Max, I think, is the only phone that offers infinite open screen time. You don't have to put a screen amount, but I think the highest amount you could do is 5 minutes on your screen time. But it used to help me when I was on the truck to have it not black out, because the phone will be playing my schoolwork in the background. That's how I would be able to get the schoolwork done, was I would do the audio books. But when the phone time black out, the book stops playing. So that option on the Pro Max was a beautiful option where the screen doesn't time out. I don't think Pro Plus 15 Plus offers that, but it's just something I'll just have to deal with. And if I'm not on a truck, if I decide to stay in New York, I won't really need the infinite screen open like that anyway. It does kill the battery. So I'm looking forward to trying out the new, I heard that it has 120 horsepower. Is that what it's called? HP, where it's quicker. It moves quicker. The Pro Max this Pro Max only offers 60. I think it's 60 HZ. That's like how fast it goes from one app to another, how fast it opens up. This phone has been through a lot, so it takes a while sometimes. So yeah, I'm looking forward to that. Maybe the picture quality will be better, because I find like on this camera, my skin don't be looking, it be looking like stress. But then when I look in the mirror, I don't see what I'm seeing on the camera. Like, it's like this camera will catch every blemish. You know what I mean? So yeah, but I'm supposed to get my phone by Monday, so we'll see. I'll give y'all a review on the 15 Plus. But the reason why I didn't get the Pro Max was because it was a little pricey. And my budget, I'm trying to save since I'm not working yet. I don't want to spend all my savings buying shit. So I need to be either going back to work or looking for a job. I'll make my decision by next week. If I'm going back trucking, if I don't, I have to look for a job. Point blank, period. I'm a little nervous about going back to work, only because you gotta go through that whole interview process, meeting your co-workers, your new boss, hoping that you like everybody. When you're in mental health, you don't really have to be around your co-workers all day, because you'll have like a client caseload, so you're mostly around your clients. So that kind of eliminates co-worker battles, but you still gonna have that. You might have a boss that's just like, you can't please them. But I don't want to think negative, so hopefully if I do decide to go back into the work field, as far as that, I find a good, productive organization to work for that is going to help the community. I might be a community advocate. I don't know, I might work with substance abusers. That's what I'm open to looking for. I don't want to do the children right now, because I did say I want to help children at some point, right? But I want to wait till I'm in the actual psychology field. I don't want to work in like child welfare, because that's too emotional for me. So when I go into a situation, like if I was a child care worker, what do they call it? CPS. I don't want to be going into somebody's house and having to snatch somebody's child just because of an accident when they're really a good parent. Because a lot of times in these situations, you have to go by the law or go by a policy. And sometimes good parents get caught up in type of shit like that. They may be good parents, something may have happened, it may be a mistake. Like, let's say a woman and husband had a fight, and the child was jumping around and got caught between them or something, and next thing you know, they got hit by accident. They may have to remove that child. As they're like, well, why was the husband and wife fighting? They might need therapy, but they might not be bad people. Not everybody that has a fight is a bad person. So sometimes we just look at things so, black and white, instead of looking at what it really is. You know what I mean? Two people stressed out and they may have had a bad situation. But then you have the toxic situations where it's a pattern of abuse. They going upside each other's head, or one person is really the crazy one and the other person just scared to death. And then they're not standing up and protecting that child. That child getting flung all across the house. It was this horrible story on the news a couple days ago. There was a daycare in the Bronx, ran by Latin people. I think they were from Dominican Republic, I think. Don't get me wrong. Maybe Cuba, I don't know. But they were trafficking fentanyl. And the horrible people put the fentanyl in the baby strollers to hide the product. And the babies, 4 babies went overdose and 1 got unalived because of the fentanyl. And it's just like, why would you do that to people, kids? They gave the people 45 years in jail. But can you imagine, you put your 1-year-old child in a daycare, and I don't know, I don't want to say the parents knew, but it just kind of strikes me as odd that you the parents didn't know that they were selling drugs in there. Because usually, I don't know, I can't say that for sure, because maybe they ran it pretty efficient, but I don't know. But they said they was dealing the drugs in the daycare. The little boy was so cute, mashallah. He was a cutie pie. Pretty skin, beautiful eyes. That was a gorgeous baby. May he rest in peace. But yeah, he passed away from the fentanyl. But it goes to show you what kind of world we're living in. Yeah, so we hear these sad stories and you say, well, how do you stay happy? You have no choice. You can't let the worries of the world get you to the point where you don't want to be a part of the world, because there's still joy in the world. You could be the joy of the world too, but there's still some good things that come out of the world. You know what I'm saying? The things that happened to me, I wouldn't take it back. I love my children. It was hard being a mom, but I wouldn't take it back. I love the experience of everything I've had to go through to get where I'm at today and sit here and talk to you guys. And I'm always grateful to the eternal creator for giving me the wisdom and the grace to be able to bring it to you guys without being bitter about it. You know what I'm saying? Because you got people, they talk about helping other people, but they're bitter and they're giving bitter advice. You see what I'm saying? But that's not the path to healing. The path to healing is going through the storm and coming out with light. Coming out on top with light. And that's what I want to bring to you guys, the light version of me. But anyways, that's all I have to say. My lips are getting really dry and I don't want to overtalk. So it was great talking to y'all. When y'all do listen to this, let it be the fruit that's needed to make your day. Leave a comment if you are the commenting type, but at least like the video if you like it. Love you guys very much, and y'all stay safe out there. And to all the people that make comments, thank you, thank you, thank you. Thank you for taking the time to express how you feel about whatever I'm saying. Whether it be just a compliment or some good substance. I like good substance comments because it also gets me to think. I'm a thinker, a deep thinker. So the deeper the comment, the better. I may not comment for a couple of days, but I have read it and then it's processing. Sometimes I don't like to give I don't like to give a fluff comment or feedback. I like to give a substance comment. So if it's a long comment, I may read it and I may take a couple of days to come back. And then I may talk about it. Some of the men that make comments on the femininity video, I see that it rubs some people the wrong way. And they left me some rude comments. Like, somebody was like, oh, that's a lie. Or something stupid. I was like, but I like the comments where a man will say something, but he'll give his 2 cents. So the comment about femininity, a man, he said, I like what you're saying about da-da-da-da-da, but however, let's talk about also the nuclear family. Even though that wasn't my topic, I still like the fact that they're bringing something more subject that I could talk about maybe in another video. You feel what I'm saying? A lady said, I think it was yesterday, she said, yes, we need a sisterhood. I forgot to read your name. Thank you, whoever you are. She said, we do need a sisterhood where, I don't want to use the word sisterhood anymore. I have to find a better word for us, for women, because I like the word womanhood, because sisterhood kind of makes it feel like it's only subjugated to black people. And when I'm talking about women, I'm talking about women as a whole. In majority of what I'm saying, not all. Because, Latina women, white women, Indian women, Asian women, what other race? Did I say all the races besides black? Egyptian women, the ones that are from the Iraqian descent. Y'all know what I mean. We all been through the same struggles as far as womanhood, the freedom of women's voice, women's options. You see what I'm saying? So when I start those type of groups, it's not really going to be called sisterhood, but I like where that lady was going with it. She said women need a place to express that, and also we need, how I think back in the ancestral days, the mothers, and I don't mean a mother as in giving birth, the mothers of the group, which would be the elders, which would be me. I'm an elder now, right? We would be the ones explaining to the younger generation women what it feels and what it means to be a woman in your own right. Not training them to be cults, not training them to be agents or conforming. No, we have to embrace their own level of individuation. In psychology, it's called individuation, and it applies to all people. You could look it up. But in the psychology part of it, we can tap into that some other time. But every human wants to have a level of individuation, which is understanding the true self, the core self, and being able to experience that within the world, not just within themselves, but within the world, and fitting into that type of dynamic without feeling like, oh my God, I got to conform and be something else in order to be accepted. So we have to teach young women how to be that, how to be different, how to go against the status quo without putting a target on your back. Because that's basically what it is. We don't want to be like the exception to the rule. And then, for example, oh, well, if you're a virgin at 21, you're weird. Those type of dynamics. We got to quelch and squash all of that and explain to women why being who you are to the core is more better than that other shit. Because I'm going to tell you, when I lost my virginity, I didn't feel good about it. I was peer pressured. I wasn't ready. I didn't want to. So that's the thing. We got to, as the elder women, explaining to the younger women, because our moms, not all moms, but some of these moms, they did us an injustice. They didn't really explain to us certain shit that we really need to know. So we have to be the ones to make that happen. And it doesn't have to be an elder by age, but if you've been through a lot of shit, you've been through some shit, and we start a group and you're explaining, you could be the envisionment for that younger woman who ain't never been through nothing. That's what I do for my youngest daughter. I be the envisionment. She lives through my eyes as far as, okay, mommy made this huge mistake by doing things this way. Now I know I don't need to be like that. I know that if I have a boyfriend, I don't got to give up my virginity for him to like me. All these things that we don't teach our daughters. And we don't give them the real tea. We give them the fluff version. Oh, just go to school. Don't speak to no boys. Like, come on. That is not good advice. Okay? These boys is out here hounding your daughters, and you going to tell them don't look at a boy, knowing she got hormones raging through her. And he got hormones raging through him. But you have to also teach them logic, how to logically assess a problem. Give them Q&As. What would your life look like if you got pregnant at 15? What would your life look like if you got pregnant at 17? And you say, Ma, I would, okay, so let's do a budget. Pretend you had to go get a room for rent or apartment. How much would that cost? They don't even know how much rent costs. They don't even know what a Con Ed bill is. They don't even know what a national, what's the bill for Georgia? They don't even know what a utility bill look like. But when they get pregnant, they're going to have to figure it out, right? But you don't want that. You don't want them figuring things out on the whim. Explain to them what real life looks like. Show them the bills. Take them with you when you go pay the bills. If you're paying them online, have them sitting right there. Show them how it's being debited out of your account. Some kids don't even know what a debit card look like versus a credit card. My son is learning credit score because he's now monitoring his credit. So he's 20 and he has to monitor his credit score. His dad is showing him how to monitor his credit score. My daughter says she don't want a credit card until she gets a job. That's fine. So when she's working, but I explained to her what credit scores do, how it fluctuates, why late payments are bad, why, you know what I mean? These are real life situations you need to be teaching your kids. So when they get a boyfriend or a girlfriend, you have to find out, does that boyfriend and girlfriend have a credit score? Do they know what that is? Are they working? Are they, you know what I'm saying? This is like if they're older teenagers, not 15 and 14. I'm talking about like if they're like 18, 19, 20, working or in school. What does that boyfriend and girlfriend know? Are they willing to wait? Are they thinking about marriage in the next 3-4 years? These are questions you need to know. But anyways, y'all, I gotta get my day started. It's nice talking to y'all again. I'm gonna get off, I promise. But anyways, y'all drop me a comment or two and like and subscribe. Love y'all. Bye.